Ongline Podcast 365. Hello, ladies and gentle whores. Welcome back to Ongline Podcast. Once again, we have the Jam from Singapore and actually from Penang, I would say. This treasure that I found through one of my listeners, and of course, I'm very curious, and she has lots of interesting stories to tell. Very interesting personality. She was a teacher, and she is an author, and she is a physics teacher, and wrote books about anything that you can think of. She's almost like a journalist, and she's almost like she writes fiction books. She writes books about a certain history of things like was it the hotel or something, the collapse of the hotel. And so she's back again, Joan Fong or Han Mei or Joan Han. This week specifically, we're gonna talk about the first book ever that she wrote, relatively speaking. Welcome back again, Joan Han.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hello, John, and hello, all the listeners.
Yes, so very exciting. I'm very exciting because we are going to talk about specifically about the first book. We're going to talk a little bit of the Medjugorje book that I personally find interesting also. But for my Penang Hokkien listeners, welcome. 各位聽眾歡迎您來聽我講這裡嘅Joan Joan 講嘅這裡故事。如果要聽Hokkien話噃 Joan, do you still you can still understand Hokkien, right?
A little bit lah, tampuk ya.
Tampuk. But do you go back to Penang regularly?
Not regularly.
When was the last time you went? Oh, every 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, I've just come back from Penang.
Oh, you just did. Yeah, I think that's when
you know.
Joe contacted
that's where
me.
I met Joe, I think. Uh-huh.
Now, does Joe live in Penang?
Joe Lau?
Yeah, Joe Lau. She's a Singaporean,
she's a Singaporean who married a Penang boy and who lives in Penang. Yeah.
Now, is your did you get married to a Singaporean man?
Yes, I did.
So it's like you're Joan's reverse, right? You're the inverse version of Joan.
Oh yeah, come to think of it.
Yeah. So
the Penang girl who married a Singaporean.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, welcome back, and I think we have a lot of I have a lot of questions to ask specifically about that book. The reason being,
yes, fire away.
I am I'm connected to your story and your this particular book and why you wrote this book, because I am from Penang. I was born and raised in Penang. I left Penang when I was 21, and I came to America to study and ended up finding a job working here. So I've been in America for 15, 16 years now. So same kind of idea that, a part of me is like still belong. I'm still kind of truly a Penangite inside. You know what I mean? No matter how long you have. It's almost like it's inside of you.
Somehow.
Yeah. Do tell us a little bit about how you came, when you were born, and how did you end up in Singapore and all that story in Penang. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, well, my father came down to Raffles College to study. In those days, it was just one country, Malaya.
Uh-huh.
So he was not going to a foreign country to study. He was just coming to Singapore, Malaya, from Penang, Malaya.
I see.
To do a college diploma. There were no degrees in those days, and my poor dad was the last batch from the diploma people.
I see.
So that he never had a degree in his entire life. Yes.
I see. Now this is again for my American listeners, just to explain to you the history a little bit. Is we know how good Americans are with history and geography and everything. So Singapore used to be a part of Malaysia, which was known as Malaya at that time, and then in 1963 is it 1963? Did I get it right?
I'm not sure.
Singapore, I think around that time. Around that time in the 60s, Singapore sort of broke off and became its own country. So That's when Singapore became its own country, but its own republic. But before, when Joan's father was going to school in Singapore, it was still part of Malaya. So
Yes.
so he went to Now was your father born in Penang?
Yes, he was born in Penang.
Oh.
And his childhood was spent in Balik Pulau,
Balai Pula, so lots of durians.
Yes, that's right. I've got a
Orchard?
uncle there who's supposed to be king of durians, you see.
Oh.
Well, he studied in St. Saviour's,
Uh-huh.
and before the war, he came to Singapore to study at Raffles College.
I see. This is approximately what year, Joan? Just kind of give an idea of approximately what year. So if
my
it's
goodness.
before
Is it,
the war is in the 40s?
War is in 41 until,
Yeah, okay.
until 45, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably around 38,
I see.
1938, 1939, he was in Raffles College.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure whether it was a 2 or 3 year course to get his diploma.
I see.
Yeah. And his contemporaries are all like well-known people, in Singapore now. Because, there are few people who had the luxury, I think, of studying for any higher level,
education,
other than what they call a school leaving certificate,
Yeah.
He mixed with the likes of, Goh Keng Swee, Lim Kim San. These are all ministers,
Oh, yeah.
who are well known in Singapore.
Now, when you wrote this book, did you actually talk about your father prior to when he was younger, or did you start?
Yes, I did. His prior days, you see.
I see.
Because his brother was there to tell all, you see. His brother was around to inform me about his childhood and everything. And his brother was a good keeper of records,
Oh, wow.
He takes a lot of photographs and he, tabled them and mounted them up very nicely.
I see.
You can call him one of the early scrapbookers, maybe,
I see.
And so he told me a lot about what he and my father did,
Mm-hmm.
The teenage years, and the social life,
Mm-hmm.
the school days.
So, did you know? So it was in Balik Pulau that they grew up in, the families
yes, they
from
grew up in
Balik
Balik
Pulau.
Pulau, And I saw it through the eyes of my uncle more than my dad because he died before I could interview him on any of this. You see.
I see.
Which was a pity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I began the whole book with Balik Pulau, chapter 1. You see.
Uh-huh. Oh, chapter 1 was Balik Pulau.
Yeah, and what was there, and then all those old pictures of the atap huts that they built, And it was my aunt's impression that they must have followed the same patterns in China. That if you went back to China and saw what homes they lived in, they must have transferred the patterns, the architecture of it, the layout of the place and all that in Balik Pulau,
Yeah.
And my uncle told me with stories of how beautiful the scenery was. Especially when the clove trees were in bloom, it was all like pink and green, full of full of color.
I see. Now,
And,
did you actually? This is of your dad's growing up, your father's growing up.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
It's not. You did not grow up there in.
No,
in
I did not.
Pulau.
You see, but
I
therefore, to me, it was such a romantic thing. You see.
Yeah.
Being in Balik Pulau, and I did visit once, you see, in my lifetime, in my teenage years. I visited one of my great aunts, actually.
Oh.
Who lived in Balik Pulau, and I was actually there in the atap hut. And looking at the stream that's flowing through it,
Yeah.
And I took it, just without much, impression, I wasn't very impressed by it until my aunt started explaining to me the life there and all that. And then it became alive, I think.
Yeah.
That they spent a childhood there.
Mm-hmm.
And my father and his brother were plucking cloves, you see.
Plucking what?
Coal? Cloves.
Oh, cloves. Cloves as in the spice.
Clove
the
flowers,
spice.
clove buds,
I see.
You pick the flower buds, and there's a certain rubbing motion you do swiftly to pick all of them off the stalks, into the basket for them to be dried in the sun,
I see.
And then they harden into this thing you call clove, I think.
I see.
Cooking.
Yeah, like so it's a spice. It's a spice, yeah.
Yeah, it's a spice,
Clove, yeah.
And it's quite curious, to know that when you look at it, it's a flower bud, that's hardened.
Yeah.
And it's so fragrant,
Mm-hmm.
I know we buy it here and it's expensive,
Yeah.
So they had that, and to me, I never had that experience of the pity. Do you know, after writing the book and all that, every time I go back to Balik Pulau, I've got this kind of urge to go and see the houses again, the atap houses, and atap and wood,
Yeah. So to you,
and
it's romantic,
I somehow never
right?
had a chance, To me, somehow it got more and more romantic the older I got,
Yeah.
And I remember living in one of them for just one night in an aunt's atap house, And it was somehow great, sleeping on the loft. You climb up to the loft by a wooden ladder,
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not wrong, there was a skylight down there, and you look through the skylight at the sky, and it was just great, It made an impression on me,
Yeah.
The water supply was from a well,
Mm-hmm. It's outside the house, right?
Yeah, outside the house.
I kind of vaguely remember that too. I remember my grandfather's house was also an atap house, which is essentially just a bunch of leaves. I think they're kind of like a palm. Is it palm leaves?
It's the atap palm,
Yeah, and so they were sort of woven together as the
rooftop.
rooftop.
Right,
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the fruits of it is atapchi,
Atapchi, yeah. Atapchi that we
Which
use
are
in ice
familiar
kacang.
with- we use it in ice kacang, It's so familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, I've got an aunt from Balik Pulau, who went to work for Senator Hiram Fong in Hawaii. And after that, she went and worked in a bakery and saved up enough money, to buy her own little flat in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
But she comes home, like the salmon does, to spawning grounds, back to Balik Pulau every year without fail to eat durian. And after some time, she sold, I think, her property in Balik Pulau and bought a terrace house. So when I told her I'd like to visit you in Balik Pulau, she says, "Come, have a look at my new place." I nearly died of disappointment to be shown a terrace house like any other terrace house. I see lots of terrace houses in Singapore or in Penang or elsewhere,
Right.
But I wanted to see the atap house.
I see.
And there's no way for me to convey my disappointment to her. She probably can't understand why. I want to see the old dreary place,
Right.
So primitive,
I don't know. This goes out to my Penang Hokkien listeners, especially my listeners from Penang. I don't know if there are still any atap houses left anymore. In Penang.
Oh, I tell you, I've just gone to Balik Pulau twice. This visit to Penang.
Yeah.
Once was actually to the same terrace house of my aunt who's back from Hawaii again to eat her durian,
Yeah.
She fed us durian, And I interviewed quite a few of my relatives to get my grandmother's side of the family. It didn't feature at all in my relatively speaking.
Yeah.
It was totally dark to me until this particular day 2 weeks ago when I did the interview. That took up all my time for that day.
Wow.
But there's Dato Lim Chong Kiat, if you know him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He brought me to his Balik Pulau retreat. He said the land is actually bought from the Lows. Now the Lows are my grandmother and her sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So they sold their land to him actually. So I was back at the area where they lived, and all the atap houses were gone, and it's now occupied by Lim Chong Kiat's Balik Pulau retreat. 10 acres of it. Of his farms and his gingers, and everything that he fancied, botanically. I enjoyed that visit tremendously, actually.
Is it is it a plantation or is it like a...
It's his own plantation, you know what I mean? He plants what he likes. It's nothing economic.
I see. Now,
they're all botanical specimens, you know.
You said that this is the grandmother. Is this your maternal grandmother? That's in Balik
no, my paternal grandmother.
Okay, so your father's mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know that chapter in the book that says my father's father, and then there's one my father's mother or something like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I can't remember the chapters in my own book. You know, whereas the grandfather was fairly prominent like that. My grandmother and her sisters were sort of like hazy. You know.
Yeah.
All I mentioned was the fact that somehow from her sister's plantation, you know, we got durians every year, like 2 bags of durians, 2 baskets full of durians. It's an annual thing, you know, and that's about all, really. Now I found that particular sister of hers has 2 sons who are the king of durians. You know, they have a durian plantation in Balik Pulau, really,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that they are related to me, really, you know, the durian growers there.
So going back to your research.
Oh, my research, huh?
Yeah.
It was simply interviewing people, really. In my family, really.
Do you write? Do you typically, when you do your interviews, do you write it down or do you record
it? I jot it quickly, really, and I really regret it that I don't know shorthand, really.
Yeah, or a recorder. You know? Get your kids to get you a recorder.
No, what I can't jot down. They are there again to ask, you see. They are around to ask again and again because they're my relatives. But when I did Hotel New World, you know, and other interviews, I've got to get it there and then, and that was taped, you see.
I see. That was taped. Do you still have those tapes left from those interviews?
I think I did. Either that, or I gave them all back to the civil defense.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You know.
So you're continuing your research just really mostly for yourself, for fun, for the treasure, like keepsakes, or are you planning on a different book?
Why I did the Hotel New World collapse and all that?
Oh no, this current one, like the one with your grandmother.
Oh, that. Oh, I just don't know where am I going to put it now. Perhaps at an update of Relatively Speaking. You know, I've threatened in those days that I might go and do another book called Relatively Speaking Again. And this time put more relatives in it.
Cool.
Because, you know, John, the exciting thing was this.
Yeah.
There was a Katrina Horn in New Jersey.
In New Jersey?
A cousin of mine in New Jersey.
Oh.
You know? She had gone from Singapore to Australia, married an Australian Chinese, got a job in America, you know. And you know, she's in New Jersey now, you know. And she was doing a family tree.
Oh.
And by email, it's just wonderful. We fed her all kinds of lists of who and who is related to who and who.
Yeah.
She was gathering a huge Horn family Yahoo group, is it?
Yeah.
Google group, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a Google group now, is it? And on it we have already collected 325
relatives,
direct descendants from my great-grandparents.
Wow, that's amazing.
You know, all of us have got one common ancestor, and that's my great-grandfather and great-grandmother.
Oh, wow.
You know?
So now maybe
we are online with practically everyone. We form a Google group site also, you know, where we, you know, post all our grousings, all our whatever, who has died, who is sick, please pray for so and so, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, and this interview's really, I mean, you have sort of like a vague idea of maybe possibly coming up with
maybe, you know, should I somehow, you know, how do I put the whole family in, you know? You can only touch on each one in a briefest, you know, manner.
Do you think you will have another following of that book?
No, I don't think so. See, if I put my family, this particular Google group, a lot of members, you know, in another book, that it'll be of no interest to anyone but us. You see.
Yeah, true.
The public won't buy it. You see, so the book is not a viable thing, you see. You know.
Yeah. But maybe you can, you know, just you don't have to publish it to the public. You can publish it for the family.
Yes, you know, it can be what,
Digital format would be good.
Yeah, it would be, In fact, any sort of like, a blog site or something like that would be of interest.
Part of, just bring myself back a little bit to you and just kind of give you an explanation of why I find you interesting is because what I'm doing with audio recordings for Penang Hokkien, I don't know how much you know about Penang Hokkien. Essentially, it's a podcast, an internet radio, comes out weekly, all spoken in Hokkien. Everything is spoken in Hokkien. It doesn't matter what topic. We talk about bang sai, we talk about hawker food, we talk about anything that you can think of, but mainly in Hokkien. And part of that is to preserve the Hokkien usage, the Penang Hokkien usage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm amazed, John, if I may say so, that you're somehow, in America and somehow keeping up this,
Oh, yeah.
Your interest in things Penang and Penang Hokkien. And,
yeah. And actually, thanks to the fact that I'm not in Penang and Malaysia, that made me actually treasure and look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective, that makes me value it even more. And that's why I actually started doing it. Yeah. It's almost like, if I'm in Penang, I don't think I would probably be interested in starting a podcast like that. But now that because I'm away from it, I actually see it from a different perspective that I kind of treasure it even more.
I know that exactly. I spent 3 years in Birmingham, England. I've already been in Singapore from the age of 10. I was studying in Singapore. And I visited Penang only for a few weeks at a time. It was so interesting. I so went back like a salmon to back to the spawning grounds. I just bought a train ticket and went to Penang, and came back. I just informed my parents I'm going to Penang, like that. So when I was 15, 16, 17,
What is it?
Then I got married.
What is it special about Penang though for you personally?
I can't define that. I can't define the fact that I'm in Singapore and I'm not happy. I can't define why I'm in Penang. I step in and I'm happy.
Oh, that is so interesting.
There's no one who can come and tell you the reasons why.
Now, Joan,
I find it a mystery.
Were you born in Penang?
Yes, of course I was born in Penang. I was about to tell you that at the last podcast, but I forgot.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and tell us now.
Actually, my parents, how my father met Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah.
He was on the run from the Japanese,
Oh,
and
this is wartime.
Chiang Ai-kim's home.
Mm-hmm.
There's Chiang Ai-kim, who's a well-known chemistry professor.
Uh-huh.
And his wife gave tuition. And one of the tuition students was called Monica Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And when she overheard that my mother was wanting where to live, she said, "Why don't you come and stay with us? My mother rents out rooms."
Ah.
So they went over to some place called Norfolk Road, I think.
Uh-huh.
And Lee Kuan Yew moved out of his bedroom. He was age 16, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And my parents took over his bedroom.
Oh, I see.
And there's a part of me that chuckles and says, I'm conceived on Lee Kuan Yew's bed.
Oh, my goodness.
During the war, no, actually.
Oh.
And then what happened was this, it was not safe with all that bombing in Singapore.
Yeah.
They bombed Singapore more than they bombed Penang.
I see.
And my mother went back to Penang to give birth to me.
So it was a little safer. It's like a safe haven.
Right. And then Lee Kuan Yew moved back into the bed and shared it with my dad.
I see.
That's how they got to know each other. They were not contemporaries in Raffles College.
When you say contemporaries, meaning what? Meaning
they didn't study there at the same time. They never met on campus because their ages are too far apart.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And that's why my mother went back to Penang, and I was born in the General Hospital in Penang.
I see.
And I put all this into my book, relatively speaking.
Was your mom also from Penang?
Yes, but she started off, I think, in Timor or Tapa or some place like that, where she was born. And then the father, a tin miner, moved to Penang, and became what he. I don't know what he did there, but my uncles ran a wound radio service,
Oh, a radio service?
And radio service. In those days, radio was new,
Uh-huh.
They were radio hams to begin with,
Yeah, yeah.
It was the most exciting thing, at that time,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to talk to somebody else at the other end of the world, that kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
There were no telephones then,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So my mother was not actually born and bred there, but she was bred there,
I see.
She went to school there,
Uh-huh.
She used to go to the same church as my dad.
Which church was
We
that?
watched him, I'm not very sure. Maybe it's a Balik Pulau church.
I see. I know
You
some
know?
Balik Pulau churches as well. I think that's like
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
one
That's,
church in Balik Pulau.
Yeah, that's like, it's a Sacred Heart Church, wasn't it? No?
Oh, yeah, Sacred Heart, that's right.
Jesus,
Yes.
And apparently my father genuflected. She was praying actually for a husband,
Oh.
and my father genuflected and got out from his seat and walked along the aisle, and she looked at him and told herself, there goes Teresa Han's brother. He's so awful looking. I don't know who wants to marry him. That's my mother.
Oh, my
I wanted to put that into the book, but nobody allowed that.
Oh, it's okay. It ended up in the podcast, so that's good.
As long as it doesn't get to my mother's ears.
So if you're relatives,
on record,
if you're relatives of Joan's mom, just don't play this part back to her.
It's all right. She's deaf. She can't hear a thing. Just don't write it down for her.
How funny. And how did they meet?
She had a feeling that, he always had an eye on her. And he knew her by sight as the classmate of his younger sister.
I see.
And she was sort of like rather cautious about someone who seems to show an interest beyond friendship even before he met her.
Right.
She could tell, from his, from him looking at her like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they met when they were introduced by my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose they went out in a big group actually.
I see.
The whole lot, my relatives and their friends, went out in a big group.
Mm-hmm.
They call themselves the social lions and lionesses.
Ah!
Went all through Penang enjoying, painting the town red, and enjoying whatever was available, which is a swimming club,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't know what else, Waterfall gardens. Not much entertainment in those days.
Right. But the botanical garden, maybe? The waterfall, yeah.
Movies, which
Movies.
were somehow provided by one of my grandfathers. I can't remember which one. My paternal grandfather,
So okay, so they met, and maybe then fast forward now to yourself. When were you born? And which hospital did you?
The Penang General Hospital.
Okay,
GH. Yeah, what is exciting about it? Oh yeah, I was born somehow into a haunted hospital ward. That is what my mother said.
Do tell. Because on Penang Hokkien, every month we have a haunted story, like ghost story segment.
Is it?
Yes. So do tell. What did your mom say it was haunted?
It's simply a Catholic ghost story. My mother saw nothing. It's just that someone died in childbirth in that particular ward, And when I was born, I did not cry.
Oh. So
they can pummel me and whatever it is. I didn't cry like other babies did. I just clenched my fist and my eyes were wide open.
Oh, there's no sound coming out.
So the hospital attendant, a lady who's a Catholic, in fact, gave a medal for me to wear. I don't know which medal it was. It's either that of St. Benedict that scares away spirits, or is that of a miraculous medal, Our Lady. The moment the medal got on me, I behaved normally as any baby would. I cried, I slept,
Interesting. So this is the GH maternity ward, I assume. Not the GH hospital. It is like an off-site, right? It's like a side wing. It's across the street.
No, I don't know. That's
I think
it's still there.
I think it's still there. My sister's firstborn was born there. It's close to the what is that school? That girls' school, St. George's Girls' School.
I see.
Yeah, it's close to St. George's Girls' School, the maternity ward. It's different from the regular wing. Anyway, yeah, go on. So you were born, and then?
Well, I think I was brought back to 23 Logan Road,
Oh, 23 Logan Road. This is where you stay.
Yeah,
your mom
when I was a child, it's like the biggest house on earth, and the lawn seems to be the biggest. It seems to go to the horizon, really.
Oh.
It's such a shock when I come back older, with my own child, with my own daughter, to look at it. Oh, it's small, It's only 10,000 square feet, I can't believe the thing could be that small. It didn't stretch on forever like it did in childhood.
In your head, when you were a child, it was huge, right?
Yes, It's, of course, relatively speaking, again.
Again, very, very smart, yeah. And so you how long did you live in that house?
Until I was 3 years old, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Japanese occupation ended, you see. Well, even when I was there, I could hear sirens and things, and some aeroplanes droning and all that. So I think there was some activity among the Japanese,
Did you personally remember that, or is it mostly encountered?
That one I personally remembered.
Oh, I see.
But my youngest memory seems to be at 2 years old when I woke up from sleep.
And you would hear sirens.
No, I heard the drone of planes, you see.
Oh.
And then there was a blackout in the whole area. Someone must have switched it off at the power station, I suppose. I can hear tuck, tuck, the clicking of the light switches.
Oh.
And then my mother saying, more for again.
What did she say?
We are Hakka.
Hakka. Oh, okay, more for. Okay, I'm also Hakka.
You are?
Yes, my father's
you're
Hakka.
running a Penang Hokkien.
Yes, I'm running a Penang Hokkien site, but the unfortunate thing is, Hakka. I do not speak Hakka very well. I can understand Hakka. But Penang Hokkien, because I grew up speaking Penang Hokkien growing up in Penang. But I myself, my father's Hakka, and I just don't speak Hakka very well. Yeah, but go on. Say more for.
If you're Balik Pulau, you're mainly Hakka, I think.
That's right. I actually have relatives in Balik Pulau. So we might be related.
Yeah, I know. We might be. That will be interesting, really. It'll be my pleasure to be related.
So you said that, and you would hear, this is your personal, like, as young as 2-3 years old, you can remember those nights.
Yeah, I remember that, that particular incident,
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I remember coming to Singapore by train, really.
Yeah.
And it was so tiring and so fretful. I was crying and crying. My mother, was all the time telling me, everyone's looking at us, stop it,
Now,
and
can
Hakka,
you...
of course.
Mao something. Don't cry.
I can't remember exactly what she said.
Anyway, now do you now I'm trying to recall, because there's a lot, and that's why I like, my personal interest is human stories. It doesn't matter who it is, you always find interesting human stories, just like yours. Some people write it. Most people just don't write them down in a book, but you happen to. But do you remember how long it took from taking the train ride from Butterworth all the way to Singapore? It must be
I tell you,
hours.
A 3-year-old has no sense of time, I think.
Right. But
I can't even say an hour has passed or anything like that, really.
I would
say... It's an old kind of train, and the British were in charge. The British ran the train after all, and whatever conductor there was rude to my mother,
Yeah.
And he was British.
I see. Because I remember, fairly the modern days, going from Butterworth to Kuala Lumpur itself is going to take about 8 hours. 6 to 8 hours, and those are express. Those are express. So it must take you, I don't know, what, 20? A day or more to get there, especially if they stop at different stations. Yeah.
That was a slow train, one of those coal. Coal powered or something like that.
Right. And so you took the train ride from... Do you do this commute regularly, or is it just one time? That's you moved to Singapore.
That was that time. The one time, coming back to Singapore in order for my father to resume his job in the civil service.
I see.
He was chosen, to be in the British, administration services.
Uh-huh.
I think before I go into that, I would like to mention my other memory in Penang.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm 2 years old again, I think. 2.5 or whatever. My father carried me in one arm, and with his other arm, he's trying to steer his bicycle all through the streets of Penang to Gurney Drive, I think.
Yeah.
Where he went and dunked. Siput Rimis. Siput Rimis. It's a very Penang thing.
Oh.
You may not know it because you're male, you see. I see very few male Siput diggers.
I know. My mom loves Siput digging.
Yeah. It's so therapeutic, But anyway, that's my father, the first male Siput digger, probably.
Siput, okay. Siput is a shellfish. It's it's not cockles. It's just like it's like a tiny little clam. Yeah, it's tiny little clam.
And when it opens, it looks like a butterfly, is it?
Yeah. The shell is very pretty. It's like a kind of like a cream color, and then with almost orangey
all
dots.
Kinds of, they resemble doves. You see, this is why they're called dove shells.
Oh.
I have seen plenty of doves, and they're not all white. You see, they're all mottled and black and speckled, and they're all the color of Siput Rimis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They almost look like rocks sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Those are called rock doves. That's why. You see.
I see.
And the Siput Rimis probably resemble rocks in order to hide well.
Yeah.
They look like pebbles then,
So you would go, your father would actually take you on a bicycle and go to Gurney Drive to the beach.
I remember him padlocking the bicycle, He explained to me as he turned the key, so that the bicycle would be safe, No one will steal the bicycle. And then we went down to the water and he dug it the way only Penangites would do it.
Let me ask. With the foot.
You stand on one foot and you splash with the other.
I know. I see. I'm a true Penangite because I know exactly. You use almost your toes to like flip up the sand. Yeah,
right. You flip the sand to one side.
Yeah.
You have to flip the sand to one side because the seawater will uncover the Siput.
Yeah.
If you get a pile of sand there, you don't get to see the Siput. You get a pile of sand, that's all.
Yes. You almost flip it open like a book.
Right. You're flipping the pages of a book over.
Yeah, exactly.
The sand goes swoosh, to form a pile, That was a hell of water, I think.
Yep. So did he actually have good find? I mean, he found a lot of Siput or not?
I can't remember. All I remember was squatting next to the hole and picking up the Siputs for him. That's one, he says, I'll pick it up. Even at 2.5 years old like that now.
Yeah.
Because of this, I tell you, I have a lifelong obsession with Siput Rimis. And this is where we come back to Singapore. I was about to tell you that just now.
Yeah.
I came back at 10 already. I came at 10 years old already. Because I went back to to Penang a few times. Studied there, went to school there, went to Politicus Convent,
Yeah.
My dad went to London to study land law or something and came back, I think, to continue his civil service job, Then I got married, and then my husband is sent to Birmingham, I think.
I see.
I've already lived how many years in Singapore without any thought of Penang,
Yeah.
So it just came to me as a shock. I landed in Birmingham. I went to the flat that he found for us, And after a few days, I sank into homesickness, you see. Homesickness for Penang. I was just utterly homesick for Penang, My dreams of Siput Rimis digging,
Wow. It's so interesting how that
Why? I've been so many years in Singapore,
Yeah.
My studies were there. My job was there, I come to a foreign place and I look back and I'm just homesick for Penang.
It's like you went back to your roots, and the roots went deeper than your days in Singapore.
Right. I just realized, you don't know yourself really. Deep down, I'm just Penang through and through, Not Singaporean, really.
I see.
So my perceptions and all that are different, really.
I see. So that it's that time. About what age were you at that time?
24,
24, okay. So you say you were in Birmingham?
Yeah, Birmingham. My husband was doing his PhD, and I was just a housewife.
Yeah, Birmingham in the United England. Okay, so not
Yeah,
Birmingham here.
not Alabama. No.
Yeah. Okay, so you were there homesick. You just went all the way back to Penang instead of Singapore.
Yeah,
And that is
my
like
mind went back there.
that's the time that sparked your interest and that special connection started to come back to you, right?
I suppose so. Suddenly I realized, that who I am actually, and
I
what's
see.
inside me, I suppose,
Wow. So
and
fascinating.
that explains a lot of things. How there's, that makes me different from my Singaporean friends, maybe.
So now
I'm more laid back. You see, I'm not really crazy to make waves in my profession or anything like that. I don't know whether it's safe to say that about Penangites.
Not as kiasu.
Yeah, not as kiasu. You see, there's very few things in my life I fear to lose. You see,
I see. Now,
I'm just happy and contented with what I've got.
Do you still feel the same way today? Like you feel?
Yeah, I think so. The older I get, somehow again, somehow
got back to your roots
really.
more even.
Yeah, the 12 days I spent in Penang.
Mm-hmm.
In the last few weeks, when I met Joe, I went to dig Siput almost 5 times. And boy, were they biting. I got half a pail full, and then I cooked it, and we ate it, and it was just great. Me and my cousin Christine, the one who sent my book for publishing.
I see.
Now,
does she live?
The journalist's daughter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does she live in Penang Island or?
She lived in Penang Island.
I see.
Now she was more a Penangite than I was, in a way that she was there until she came for university in Singapore.
I see. And does she still live in Penang now, or is she in Singapore now?
She's in Singapore.
I see.
She's now quite well settled here.
Mm-hmm.
Head of the University Cultural Center.
Now I have a food question to ask you. When you go and korek all the siput, and then when you take it home, how do you prepare it?
The way grandmother prepared it,
What
First of
what
all,
is it like?
A tablespoon of oil, just to fry the garlic and the ginger.
Okay, garlic and ginger.
And if you like chili, the chili. And then when the thing has sizzled a little bit, and if there's some fragrance to it already, you throw in the whole a lot of siput.
Yeah.
And then sort of like ladle them around a bit to get a heat to get into each of them.
Yes.
Sort of cha-cha like that, And then they sizzle, and then it gets drier and drier. Before they get totally dry or what, you clamp a lid on them. Before, I never knew what was under the lid. Nowadays, you've got glass lids, you see.
Oh.
You get a glass lid from any of those glass saucepans, large one,
Covered up.
You place it over your wok, you see. It'll hit the wok sooner or later, whatever the size,
Yeah. Like
and underneath the seeputs begin to open, you see.
Yeah, it's like
steam,
steaming.
They're being steamed, actually,
Yeah.
And then they start spitting out their water,
Yeah.
And then you get quite some gravy in it, And that is when you add your teaspoon of black sauce, a tablespoon of white sauce, 2 teaspoons of sugar, And if there's many of them, you don't add salt. They come from a salt environment.
Because salty water.
Yeah, right, And then, then after that, a puddle of 2 tablespoons, 2 or 3 tablespoons of water with corn flour.
Oh, it's to thicken it up.
With probably 2 teaspoons or a tablespoon of corn flour, not much. Depending on how much gravy you want,
I'm salivating, just so you know. My mouth is watering right now.
Yeah, and then you pour it in like that, and then it makes nice gravy. And this kind of gravy, all the kids will love putting it on their rice.
Yeah. It's very similar to how my mother would make it.
Oh, really?
With one exception, is that she actually puts shallots also.
Oh, shallots also.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, not just garlic and shallots. My mother's my grandmother, my mom's mother is a Nyonya, so maybe that's a little bit of a twist from their recipe. It's like they put shallots in it on top of just the garlic and ginger.
Those are actually already brown fried shallots, is it? Sprinkled on top.
It's
No?
not sprinkled on top. It's
Garnishing?
actually fresh. Yeah, fresh one. Saute when you go and
I see.
goreng. Yeah, you goreng it with
Right,
shallots.
right. You put
yeah.
the shallots.
Yeah.
It'll be more fragrant, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's the same style. It's all black and dark, and you just like suck it up, right? You put it in your mouth and you suck it. The both sides of the shell, you would just suck until the juice
Yeah.
comes off of it.
Yes, a lot of people sort of look at it with scorn. They're so tiny. There's a little bits of flesh, but I tell you, I've eaten bigger clams, eaten mussels.
But they're so tender.
They're
so tender.
And somehow nothing of them tastes like this. The sweetness in this one, it's different
exactly.
from the taste in the others,
Exactly.
There's one thing that I suspect might be similar to my little siput remes, and that is the toha roa in New Zealand.
Oh.
It's a big clam, It looks just like a siput remes. It looks like a giant siput remes.
I see.
And they're supposed to be so delicious and over-collected that now our wardens patrol the beaches,
Oh. Have you
and when you
tried
go
them?
collecting toha roa, no, I've never seen one, I think. When you go to collect toha roa, you're allowed only to collect a certain number
I
of a
see.
certain size, greater than a certain size.
I see.
The smaller ones you're supposed to throw back. The wardens come after you to make sure you do that.
Yeah, because they're endangered.
Mm.
So,
And every time I go to New Zealand, I've been there 3 times, I think to myself, toha roa, here I come. Where can I get a toha roa? A giant siput remes, And I've asked New Zealanders, have you ever eaten toha roa? They said once, as a child. My mother found one, and she battered the thing. Goreng the thing, like goreng pisang like that. It was better. And then she cut it into 8.
Oh
and
my
each
God.
of us got one little bit.
wow.
That's how they eat toha roa. That's how rare it is.
I see.
Mm.
Now, Joan, being connected to Penang, and also very interestingly linked back to food. Your case being siput. Is there any other food that you specifically like because it's from Penang or you grew up eating it?
Well, I suppose so. I go for hiao pia.
Hiao pia.
People know hiao pia is not tau sa
Not
pia.
tau sa pia. It's sticky
It's
inside,
not
right?
tam bun pia. It's not any. Yeah, it's this thing with the brown.
The caramel
sugar,
sugar inside. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and a few Singaporeans like it. In fact, few Penangites like it either.
Yeah, my mother likes it. Yeah, so that's why I know about it.
You don't particularly go for that, eh?
I actually like it. A lot, but it's it's very rare for me now. But when I go back, I try to. When I go back, I try to. I say, wait. Am I thinking of the same thing or not? Is it the tambun pia?
I don't know what is inside, but this is brown stuff. That's either molasses.
Is it crumbly or sticky? Is it crumbly or sticky?
Well, it's sort of like chewy,
I
not
see.
really sticky. It doesn't stick,
Okay, so maybe
it's
I'm
just
thinking
brown.
about
the thing. If you
hiao pia. I know what it
bite
is.
and
It's
a
almost
dark
like
brown,
auteng, like dark sugar, like dark.
Yeah.
Brown sugar.
It's just like auteng. It's probably auteng, actually.
Yeah. My mother loves that. My mom.
I tell you, I love that.
My mother loves it, and this is how nice my listeners. Hopefully he's still listening. One of my listeners heard that my mom loves that hiao pia. He actually bought a big bunch of that for my mom when I went back to Penang last time. So yeah, it was amazing. So you like that too? That's very good. Hiao pia. Yeah, I know it's not tau sa pia. It's not tambun pia. It's hiao pia.
Yeah,
it's the
hiao
one with the
pia.
brown, almost like crumbly brown sugar inside.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my Singapore friends go to Penang and come back and say, here's your hiao pia. And it's invariably tam bun pia or tau sa pia.
Oh. Bought the wrong
I'll
kind.
keep it in my fridge for 6 months, and then in the end I'll throw it away. It's quite a waste, but I don't like the taste.
It's like you every now and then you have one that bursts out like the butt, come a little bit of the brown sugar kind of leak out a little
it
bit.
sticks out as a little
Yeah.
a little knob, It's full of little knobs, so the thing bursts out.
Yeah. Okay, so you like that? Any other food that you like, particularly from Penang?
I just want to add that I taught my Singaporean husband how to like it, maybe.
Oh, you trained him.
Hiao pia, the
You
two
have
of us can
trained
sit
him.
there and finish one entire box of hiao pia within the day watching TV,
Yeah.
Any other thing, there are lots of Penang foods I like, but they are available in Singapore already. There are enough Penang restaurants in Singapore, and some of them are pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember bringing one KL cousin and one nephew, from KL also, to eat at one of these restaurants. Wow, they were just going full steam ahead. It's authentic, very nice, So I wouldn't miss these so much.
I see.
But I like the hei mee, Hokkien mee,
Hokkien mee.
The prawn Hokkien mee.
Yeah.
But I've discovered how to make it myself, so I don't miss that so much.
I see.
They are not, what I make is not as superb as what I add, There was one from Dato Kramat, I think.
Oh.
The one that people wait in queue,
Is it the Padang in the Dato Kramat near the Padang Brown or something?
No, I don't think it's on the Padang, This one is, it's in a shop house,
I see.
He sells nothing but this, you see.
I see.
Because it's so famous, you see. That was the last thing I ate before I flew back to Singapore this time.
Do you like any kueh?
Yeah, I like the kueh also, really.
The Nyonya kueh?
Yeah, they're so refined,
Yeah.
But the shop in Singapore I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
the restaurant in Singapore, they sell this Nyonya kueh, and the cooks are all from Penang.
I see. So
the
you can actually...
It's just like what I had before.
So you actually can actually get... That's good. And
it appeared in our newspapers, where to find Nyonya kueh. That place, this thing, the Penang variety.
I see.
Got listed in our newspapers.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing, that I miss very much, and I can never get, probably not again. When in my school days, in the tuck shop, and a man who walks by striking his gong, we call him the Tong Tong man.
Yeah.
That's a bottle of pickled mangoes. They're pickled halves, you see.
Oh, yes, kiam sui ti.
And the ones I had then, they were just simply, I think, probably done with salt.
Yeah.
Wash away the salt, add sugar, and then it probably soaked in sugar.
Yeah.
And became sugary, and then it's allowed to ferment slightly.
Yes.
Slightly fermented,
And is this in
and
this?
I used to buy it for 5 cents, 10 cents, And I can never get it again. There's no point. I went to Balik Pulau. I went everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think people make those anymore. It's the small one, like the soya chu, the small size.
No, the
right?
very small one is something else. It's another different, It's the bigger mango. I know what you're thinking about.
It's a bigger mango, not the soya chu, not the small one.
Not the small ones, you see. The normal size mango.
And this is in the almost like a syrup, right? It's soaked inside a syrup. Is it almost yellow?
Yeah.
Is it almost
soaked,
yellowish?
No, it's not yellow. If it's yellow, it's got saccharine. I don't know what else they add.
I see.
Not a single sample.
So it's just very...
I went through Balik Pulau sampling all this.
I wonder if you can make that yourself.
I probably can,
Uh-huh.
Because the last time I ate something similar to it was in Singapore.
Uh-huh.
I know one guy who's quite a character. He goes around public places with mango trees.
Uh-huh.
And he actually pinches these at night, you see.
Borrow
and he pickles
some.
them,
Uh-huh.
And the pickles are either successful or not successful.
I see.
It can turn one way or the other, And the successful ones he sells to restaurants,
Oh.
And he gave me a bottle of it. It was superb. It was
Is
just like my childhood.
Can you? Is it like you said half the mango or?
Yeah, half the mango.
Okay, so when you buy it, it's actually half a mango.
Yeah, it is.
I see. So you just like half bite, and it's still crunchy.
It's so crunchy,
I see. Mm-hmm. And there's no
there's no seed to it, and the
But of course skin is off, and
the seed hasn't formed yet. The hardness of its shell,
I
the
see,
seed coat,
Yeah. Do you just munch it? You don't slice it or anything, right?
No, I don't. I just take it and I bite into it.
I see.
And I don't think I'll ever get that again, maybe. And I wonder why.
I wonder if my Penang Hokkien listener, who are thousands of Penangites listening to this, they might actually leave a comment. They might actually leave a comment. If you know, in a solution Penang Hokkien 聽就係啲 Penang 嗱，係在講可能講係咪按照看係算係做 Joan 講係算係做路人去我係 Penang onlinepodcast.com bằng lao message. Leave a message there if you heard this, if you happen to know where to get it.
Yeah. Or at least tell me how to make it.
Either share the recipe or I'll tell her where she can get those.
Yeah. How does the thing ferment? You know,
I wonder if it's fermented in salt and then soaked into syrup. I wonder.
It could be. I don't know. Whatever. I'm willing to try a few recipes.
My mom used to make her own. When she does it, she actually cuts it, shredded it, like almost julienne, small strips, and then she would soak it in salt until the liquid and everything comes out, and then she would put sugar, and sometimes she put cabai burong, cabai burong, the
fiery chili.
Cabai burong, and put it inside, and we will eat it that way, almost like a salad. But the pickling process is in the salting at first, and then put the sugar in later. I don't know. If anybody of the listeners out there know, please let us know. Go to the website and let us know.
I'd be very happy to know.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to add to Penang before we? I know this is like almost another hour has gone by. Is there anything else? Yeah, I know. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I suppose, I love Penang Hill, really.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure everyone does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow it's always the view from Penang Hill Hotel that I enjoyed, really. Some of my best moments are to see the clouds turning golden, The whole sky is filled with gold, as the sun sets,
Where do you stay? Do you stay at the Penang Hill Hotel?
Penang Hill Hotel, it's now called the Bellevue Hotel.
Oh.
And it belongs to Lim Chong Kiat,
Is it the one that is like if you take the car, what is it called, the vernacular? Yeah, the cable car, the vernacular. When you go up there, on the way up, it's on the left hand side, right? It's very pretty, and it's this nice building.
When you say left hand side,
you're depending on if you're facing uphill.
On the journey on the way up, is it?
Yeah, on the way up.
No, it's right at the terminus.
Oh.
You get down, Eddie.
I see. Not the very top, the middle one.
You go right to the top, you see.
Oh.
And then you get on the road now. Now you're walking along that road that leads to the post office.
Yeah.
It's near the post office.
Oh, it's close to the temple, the Indian temple.
It's an Indian temple. I thought there was a mosque. The Bel Retiro. I think there's a mosque there now.
Oh. I remember the mosque is
you go
on the
around
other
the
side.
tea kiosk, and that road that winds around the tea kiosk.
Oh, I know exactly where it is now. It's next to the Balai Police, right? There's like after the Balai Police, there's one. It goes. I think I remember walking into it. You walk through this very, very tropical, almost like a garden. Inside the hotel.
Right. That belongs to Lim Chong Kiat again.
I see. I know exactly where that is now. Okay, it just came back to me. So you walk in straight to the lobby. It's like open air. It's very nice. I know what that is.
You go to the lobby, and you can see the whole of Penang spread below you.
Yeah. I remember now. Okay. So do you go to that hotel every time you go back?
I suppose so, for old time's sake, really. I don't care where else I go to, but I go to that hotel, really. And it helps that Lim Chong Kiat, owns it.
Yes.
So when I said I wanted to go up to the hill and all that, he invited us to stay for a night, you see. So I stayed as his guest for a night, with my cousin Christine and Christine's daughter, We shared a room.
I see.
He gave us a wonderful dinner before that, And we had a real lovely view from there.
Yeah.
And when it turned dark, all the lights came out like fairyland, below, all sparkling and all that,
I see.
And the mist came and went, so that we are suddenly encased in mist, and then, the view clears again like that. I like that. It was so cold at night,
Very fascinating. I'm so glad you get to share your memory about Penang. Penang is very dear to me, and you get to hear it from somebody who lived there not too long, but almost felt like you're connected to Penang more than you are in places that you lived longer.
Yes, And if you get my book, relatively speaking, it'll become very clear that I'm perfectly happy in Penang.
I would love.
I stated as much as
I would love to. So can you? Is it fair to sum up that the book, relatively speaking, you actually get a clearer picture of how your fondness of Penang?
Yes, I would say so. Really.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And of course, the book covers more than just about Penang, but at least the first few chapters were from were in Penang?
Sorry, who was first? What?
How many chapters were actually about Penang, or roughly like?
I'm afraid only the early chapters.
Early chapters, okay.
Yeah.
But did you actually
4 or 5? I'm talking about relatives all the time, not Penang. I think.
I see. Very, very interesting. I'm very glad that you get to share this with us.
Yes, I'm so glad to share it with you too. Really.
Yeah,
it's a
and of
pleasant
course
thing to share.
You can again, like I said, I love human stories, and it really doesn't matter who find this interesting. Somebody will. So you can share when the show is out. I'm going to send you the link. I will post it on your Facebook page. You can have all your relatives go and listen to our chats.
Oh, great! I'll be grateful for that. Really.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Thank you, John, for having me on this show.
Oh, you're very welcome. You stay with me. Don't hang up yet, and we'll finish this up, and then I'll catch up with you. I'm going to chat with you for a little bit before we go.
Yes.
Thank you so much for agreeing and chat with us. Again, if you want to buy her book, Relatively Speaking, and you can email herself, which is your email is ffjoan@gmail.com. That's Frank, double F, ffjoan, Joan, @gmail.com. Or you can simply go to onglinepodcast.com. That is ONGLINE, onglinepodcast.com. Leave your comment under the show. You can also leave us voicemail if you call my voicemail line 920 iPhone 1. Leave me a voice comment there that way as well. And there's a not Malaysian, it's a US number, just so you know. And hopefully you will get to see the next book, maybe for the family or whatever. And if you have any comments specifically about the mango or anything else that we talk about, do leave comment and then come back and chat with us. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, John.
And my listeners, don't forget to smile. Bye.